Hi, my name is John Silva. I'm a history teacher at Lindblom Math and Science Academy in Chicago, Illinois. Today, in my kitchen, I'm going to be making Nutraloaf for my students. Nutraloaf, if you don't already know, is a form of a food served to prisoners in state and county prisons all around the country. It's a form of punishment food. Why, as a history teacher, making a cooking video? My 8th graders, as part of their Constitution project, have been trying to decide if Nutraloaf violates the 8th Amendment to the Constitution, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. Many times, inmates have sued over this food, and time and again, the courts have ruled that it does not violate the Constitution. However, instead of making an academic exercise where we read about it and we look at other videos, I decided to try to make it myself. I would try it, and I would have my students try it if they want. So today I'm going to show how it's made, and then how it's prepared, how it's cooked, and then I'm going to take it to school tomorrow and see how they like it. Where did I find a recipe for Nutraloaf? Doing some research, I discovered that in 2001 there was a court case where several inmates in the state of Illinois challenged the constitutionality of Nutraloaf. In an affidavit, the Illinois Department of Corrections filed the recipe for it, including the ingredients, how it's prepared, and the exact method of how it's prepared. And so today I'm going to be using the state of Illinois' recipe for Nutraloaf. So what exactly is in Nutraloaf? Well, for the meat version of the recipe, we have 2 ounces of ground beef, cooked and drained of fat, 4 ounces of chopped canned spinach, 4 ounces of chopped canned carrots, 4 ounces of vegetarian beans. In this case, I'm using Great Northern beans. There's 4 ounces of applesauce, an ounce of tomato paste, a half cup of potato flakes, 4 ounces of dry milk powder, 1 cup of breadcrumbs, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. The garlic powder kind of surprised me because it was my understanding that this was designed to be as flavorless as possible. So I'm wondering if the garlic powder actually does add a lot of flavor, or if it's just something the state of Illinois threw in there to sort of say that there is some sort of seasoning. So I cooked the ground beef in a normal skillet on my stove and drained it. And so this is the ingredients of Nutraloaf. So now comes the mixing part. Step 1 is to combine the beef and all the vegetables into a bowl. Make sure you get every little bit in there. As I do this, I'm supposed to gradually add some of the other ingredients. Now the idea, when this is all mixed together, is that it should be stiff but firm. I'm guessing kind of like what a meatloaf is supposed to be like. But I will tell you that this is looking like no meatloaf I have ever eaten. And I'm usually a fan of meatloaf. What I'm afraid of is if I may have to get in here and start mixing this together with my hands. Now, according to the state of Illinois, this is 1 serving of Nutraloaf for 1 meal for 1 prisoner. When it's all mixed together, it should weigh 1.5 pounds before it's cooked. I have a scale here that I'm going to use to make sure that I'm measuring it. And I did measure all of these ingredients out by weight before I started putting this together. Let's make sure we don't forget the garlic powder. say that while I am mixing this together, it is very stiff. It is hardly appetizing in color. And just by the ingredients list alone, I can imagine that while this is a very healthy meal in terms of what's in it and its nutritional content, don't know what it's going to be like to eat. You certainly don't know what it's going to be like to taste. So, this is what it looks like. Now it's all been mixed together. You can definitely tell that there are certain things in it. I can see the carrots that I chopped up, and obviously the beans are still whole. And it is a, besides the green, the carrots and the beans, it is a sort of a greenish brown color. I can't really describe what it smells like. I think the strongest smell what's coming through is the canned spinach, or more than anything else. So that's the mix. Now I'm gonna put the pan on my scale. I'm gonna start measuring out to make sure that I have 1.5 pounds of mixture here. And it's at 1 pound 9 ounces, so just a little bit big. So let's take a little bit off, just to make sure we're doing this for accuracy's sake. 1 pound 8 ounces. All right. So now what I need to do is form this into a loaf. Now I did spray the cooking pan with some cooking spray. I don't have a real loaf pan. Well, that's not true. I have a loaf pan. I didn't want to use it for this. So there you have it. We have 1 serving for 1 prisoner of State of Illinois Nutraloaf. This is now going to go in the oven at 300 degrees for about 40 minutes, and it needs to cook in there until it reaches an internal temperature of 155 degrees. I'm gonna put it in the oven now, and then we will see what it looks like and tastes like when it's done. Okay, so here we have 1 serving of State of Illinois Nutraloaf, served as punishment food for prisoners. It just came out of the oven. It is, just holding it up here, it is very heavy. Looking at it, it is not appetizing to look at all. It is just a mixed up mash of carrots and the beans. I can see some bits of ground beef. It is mostly green in color. Smelling it, when I smell it, it just mainly smells like the spinach. I think the spinach is kind of the best the best smell that I smell out of this. It is very dense, and I'm looking at this thinking that this is a meal by itself, 1 meal. And even if I was reasonably sure that this tasted good, I don't know if I would be able to eat this whole thing. But according to the State of Illinois, this contains all of the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, fats, carbohydrates, proteins that a human being needs to survive and to thrive in prison. And time and again, the courts have said that this is a food that does not violate the Constitution. So I'm going to try it now. It is not very appealing to smell at all. A little crunchy on the outside, it seems. This is still pretty warm. I don't know if they serve it warm or at room temperature in the prisons. I'm guessing probably room temperature. So now I'm going to try it, and I've got some coffee here to hopefully wash it down in case this is as bad as I think it might be. So here goes. That's pretty bad. There's really no way of describing the flavor other than it is almost no flavor at all. I feel like this is the most I can taste is the spinach, and it's sort of that, it just has this grassy, bland vegetable taste to it that you can't really define. And this is not something I would want to eat at all. And if this was all I had to eat, if this was my option for weeks on end, I can see why this is a very effective form of punishment in prisons. So I'm going to bring this to school tomorrow. I'm going to bring this one that I made so they can see what a serving size looks like. It's minus 1 bite. I'm going to bring the pan of the Nutraloaf that is currently in the oven, and I'm going to see what the students think. I know the courts have said this doesn't violate the Constitution, and tasting this recipe, I would say that it's bad. I don't know. I'm going to have to give it some thought. I'm going to see what the students think after they try it. And so look for part 2 of the video will be the students trying it and their reactions and reflections to whether or not Nutraloaf is constitutional.